page 229 to 238. A man is going to try to cross. He's been warned, can surely see the body of the hatless man as well as anyone, but he doesn't seem to care. He's young, perhaps a bit foolish. Dragan wonders if he gets some sort of thrill out of challenging an intersection that's known to have a sniper. It's a new sport, perhaps, the 100-meter dash with bullets. Dragan sees a camera is being set up across the street. A man in a bulletproof vest stands behind the barricade and surveys the scene, calculating distances and angles, judging the visual quality of the destruction. He's clean-shaven and his clothes are immaculate. Dragan can see the neatly ironed creases in his pants from across the street, or he thinks he can. Still, he's surprised not at the cameraman's presence, but at his location. The camera should, he thinks, be on his side of the road, the side closest to the hotel the foreign journalists stay at, the one that still has food and hot water and often electricity. This man has gone the long way around. It's an odd choice, but Dragan doesn't know what to make of it. The man about to cross has seen the camera too and pauses as though weighing whether or not he should wait so that his sprint could be captured on camera. He even looks down, checking his clothes. He seems to decide that his outfit isn't something he wants to wear on television, however, because he jerks forward and enters the intersection. Everyone, including the cameraman, stops what they're doing and watches. It's not much of an audience, no more than a half-dozen people, and they've all seen this show before, with both endings. The man runs in a straight line. He's fast. A new world record? Maybe. Perhaps they will have to notify the people at Guinness. The sniper doesn't fire for reasons all his own. When the man reaches the other side, Dragan thinks the cameraman looks disappointed, because the sprinter lived and because he didn't get a shot of his run. The disappointment irritates Dragan, makes him feel like a zoo animal. A dog comes up behind the cameraman, startling him, and Dragan smiles. The dog is uninterested, though, and continues into the street. As it nears, Dragan wonders if it's the same dog he saw earlier with the Mina. This dog has the same sense of purpose and also appears as though it has somewhere to go. But he can't remember exactly what the first dog looked like. It could be the same. They all look the same to him now. The dog trots across the lanes of pavement towards Dragan. As he gets close to the body of the hatless man, Dragan wonders if the dog will try to eat the corpse. It must be hungry, he thinks. Everything that is neither politician nor gangster in this city is hungry. But the dog walks past the body without even stopping to sniff at it. It's as though it wasn't even there. Dragan hears the clink of dog tags as the dog passes him, sees it's wearing a collar, but it's obvious from the condition of its fur that the dog lives on the street. It doesn't look up at Dragan or anyone else it passes, and he wonders if the dog has written off mankind altogether. Dragan wants to call out to the dog, to give it something to eat, to pet its fur, do something that will restore its faith in him. But he doesn't have any food, and he knows the dog won't come even if he calls it. As it turns the corner and disappears, he feels a little like the way he felt when he stood watching his wife and son's bus pull into the street and fade out of sight. He knows that he has been that dog. Ever since the war started, he's walked through the streets and tried to pay as little attention as possible to his surroundings. He saw nothing he didn't have to see and did nothing he didn't have to do. The cameraman is having a problem with his equipment. He set his camera down on the ground and is rummaging through a large backpack. Dragan is relieved, but then the cameraman appears to find what he's looking for and moves back to the camera. Dragan knows that the camera will be filming soon, and he knows he doesn't want the body of the hatless man to be captured on film. It's not that he doesn't want the world to know what's happening here. He does. Or at least he agrees with the argument that the world is more likely to intervene if it is forced to see the suffering of innocents. It's just that the scene the cameraman will capture is in no way representative of what's happened here today. It's the aftermath. A dead body won't bother anyone. It'll be a curiosity, but unless some viewer knew the hatless man, it will mean nothing. There's nothing in a dead body that suggests what it was like to be alive. No one will know if the man had unusually large feet, which his friends used to tease him about when he was a child. No one will know about the scar on his back he got from falling out of a tree, or that his favorite food was chocolate cake. They will not know that when he was 18, he went on a trip with his friends from school, hitchhiked all the way to Spain, where he slept with a blonde girl whose last name he never even knew, and that he would think about this often over the next 30 years, always at the strangest times, while peeling an orange, or sharpening the blade of a knife, or walking up a hill in the rain. Then there are the things one doesn't mention about the dead. It will not be said that he had a quick temper, or that he sometimes cheated at his monthly card game. He was cheap. When drunk, he was cruel. None of this will ever be said again, has simply vanished from existence. All these are things that make a death something to be mourned. It's not just a disappearance of flesh. This, in and of itself, is easily shrugged off. When the body of the hatless man is shown on the evening news to people all over the world, they will do exactly that. They may remark on the horror, but they will, most likely, think nothing of it at all, like a dog with somewhere else to be. Dragan looks at the body of the hatless man. He doesn't know his name, can't picture his face. He doesn't know anything about him at all. It's all conjecture. But it doesn't matter. This man is him, or he could be. He lived in the city under siege, and he was shot crossing the street. They both did nothing when Amina needed help. He won't allow this man's body to be filmed. He remembers what he told Amina about the cellist, why he thinks he plays, to stop something from happening, to prevent a worsening, to do what he can. As he looks at the cameraman, however, Dragan realizes that he's missed the point. It doesn't matter what the world thinks of his city. All that matters is what he thinks. In the Sarajevo of his memory, it was completely unacceptable to have a dead man lying in the street. In the Sarajevo of today, it's normal. He's been living in neither, has tried to live in a city that no longer exists, refusing to participate in the one that does. The sniper is still there. He can't say how he knows this, but he does. Somewhere on the hills or in the buildings of Grabaka, he's waiting, biding his time. A man just crossed without him shooting. It means nothing. It's all a calculation. The longer he waits before shooting, the more people will venture back into the intersection. Dragan thinks it might be possible to draw a chart to express the best correlation between the number of potential targets and the time between shots. He wonders if the sniper has such a chart, perhaps a small laminated card tucked into the breast pocket of his jacket, or if it's just something he knows by heart. The hatless man is close, maybe 15 meters from him. It should be a simple thing to run to him, grab his hands, and drag him off the street. 20 steps each way. Half a minute is all it should take, possibly less. He takes a deep breath and exhales, then his feet are moving and he's back in the street. Once again, time slows down, and each time his foot surges forward, it seems like an eternity passes. He can hear his feet hitting the ground. The sound slaps and echoes loud in his ears. His mouth feels dry. When he's 3/4 of the way to the body, he remembers to keep his head low, and his shoulders ache as he ducks down, still running. Dragan reaches the body of the hatless man. The soles of his shoes stick and slip in his blood. He reaches down and grabs one of his hands, lifeless and still warm. The other one's difficult to get a grip on. He loses his balance and falls. Dragan's nose is a centimeter from what remains of the head of the hatless man. A flap of skin hangs over the maw of his emptied skull like a bad toupee. For some reason, it doesn't bother Dragan. He thinks it should, knows that normally such gore would horrify him, but it isn't important. All that matters is getting the body off the street. Something slams into the body in front of him with a flat thump. A rifle cracks. The sniper has fired, missed him by less than half a meter. Dragan grabs the hatless man's other hand and tries to get to his feet. He can't. The body is too heavy. He's able to crouch and, in an awkward sort of crab walk, pull the body backwards towards the boxcar. He knows the sniper will fire again, but he isn't afraid. At this moment, fear doesn't exist. There's no such thing as bravery. There are no heroes, no villains, no cowards. That's what he can do. There's what he can do and what he can't. There's right and wrong and nothing else. The world is binary. Shading will come later. He doesn't hear the bullet hit, but he does hear the gunshot. He doesn't think he's hurt, but isn't certain. As he pulls the body of the hatless man the few final steps to safety, he waits to feel some sort of pain, waits to feel the wetness of bleeding. It doesn't come. He sits down on the ground, breathing hard, sweating. He looks across the street and sees the cameraman staring at him, his mouth open. His camera is in his hands, but not on his shoulder. He hasn't captured him, or the body of the hatless man. Good, he thinks. I will not live in a city where dead bodies lie abandoned in the streets, and you will not tell the world I do. One of the two people on his side of the street moves towards him. The whistling of descending shells makes the person change his mind. The shells fall on the other side of the boxcar and what's left of the abandoned army barracks. Dragan lies on his stomach, his hands over his face and head, pressed to the ground. He tries not to think about what will happen if a shell falls on his side of the barricade. The men on the hills are angry. Be angry with yourselves, Dragan thinks. You had your chance to kill me, and you'll have another chance soon. The defenders answer back with automatic gunfire, followed by several single shots, the calling cards of counter snipers. These shots elicit more mortar fire from the men on the hills, and for a few minutes, each side trades volleys until finally it's quiet, or at least relatively quiet. Dragan sits up, brushes the dirt from his face. He wonders if this war will ever end. He wonders if it will be like, what it will be like if it does. Will people forget? Should they? He doesn't have any answers to these questions, but he's happy to be thinking about them. When he gets to the bakery, he will ask his coworkers what they think. They may be surprised. He hasn't spoken to any of them in a long time. He stands up, his knees and back stiff. He walks away from the body of the hatless man and picks up Amina's coat. Beside it lies the man's hat, which he picks up as well. He looks at each of them for a while. If he were to guess from the condition of the clothing, he'd think that it was Amina who was killed and the hatless man who lived. But things aren't always the way they look, especially here. If this city is to die, it won't be because of the men on the hills. It will be because of the people in the valley. When they're content to live with death, to become what the men on the hills want them to be, then Sarajevo will die. Dragan takes Amina's coat, covers the man at his feet, and gives him back his hat.